Greetings, Mandrake here. This is Mission 15, Silent Auditorium on the difficulty Legendary with all skulls on, except for Bandana. Deathless. No deaths in this run. I will be skipping cutscenes. Take out that Jackal Major. Rather annoying trying to kill from up top up here. My current loadout, full BR, 37% diminisher of hope.
Negative.
Stalker I picked up is a 50%.
We'll be in.
I wanted to get that mule. He drops a 100% stalker.
You hear me?
I want to pick off several grunts. I don't even really have a number or how many. I pretty much target those that are kind of in the middle area and off to the left. I want to pick off the grunts so they drop nades somewhere near where the elites like to hang around and cover, for just that reason. I'm only going to get one of those in this run. That does it for the stalker. Yep, it is empty. I just picked up the hammer, which, by the way, the hammer is dedicated for the hunters. The hunter fight only. I'm not going to use it in this section. Like the plasma pistol, which is around upper 30%, and the stalker that I just picked up from that mule, 100%. I'm trying to bait this elite to come over to this area, but I find that whenever I pick one of them off, the other one will not push up into this area specifically. Sometimes they'll come near this area, throw nades and stuff, but this one isn't going to bite. I'm going to have to go to him. Now at this portion, at this section, these enemies over here are dug in, so they're not going to be much of it. They're not going to be involved in this part of the fight. I can take on this elite without them getting involved. But I got to be careful with that shade turret. 2 nade sticks and a headshot, and he's down. So both elites are down. That is huge and really big for this being a successful run on this section. I have the Ravager. I'm going to use the Ravager to take out the shade turrets. It's like 3 to 4 volleys will take out a shade turret. Just got to make sure the shots count and I get the hits. Got a big miss there. That's 2, 3, and then it spit out what little it could before it had to reload. It was enough for it to explode. 3 direct hits or 3 direct volleys will give it enough for it to build up to detonation. Sometimes it might take a 4th. When it starts to build up to detonation, the occupant will hop out, but I find in some cases they'll wait to the very last moment. So there's 3. There he hops out, so I decide not to shoot a 4th. And if I do, it explodes and will kill the occupant next to him. I'm going to return to this area, and on this side there should be at least 1 brute, 1 grunt, and a Jackal Miner, which I think I took out the Jackal earlier. He drops a plasma pistol and up 30s, which I will want to collect. Put the threat sensor up in that area because sometimes a grunt likes to wait behind in that area up on the deck up there. And he becomes very difficult and very annoying to have to deal with because he'll just step out and just pepper you. And then as you go to try and shoot him, he'll just duck back into cover. But this run, he's not up there this time. Since I took out those 2 elites, I need these heat waves for the brutes. Want to collect and combine the sword. I'll get the other sword here in a bit. I'm looking at it. It's a little too far. I don't have to mess with it right now. And across the way, there's that brute. And if I'm not paying attention, he could easily kill me. I need to get him to step out so I can get him with the Ravager and the BR. And I'm kind of getting tangled up in this garbage. Yeah, that was too many shots with the Ravager, and I think that's it. That mule also drops a full stalker, but I won't be needing it. Looks like two grunts remain, and I leave 2 more brutes. And that's it for the Ravager. Fall back quickly and try and get this stalker. Get 1 more brute, 1 more grunt. Yep. Trying to get to switch weapons. Just the game likes to ignore me pressing Y, and it doesn't like to do it. That is it for all the enemies in this section. I prefer to eliminate all of them without crossing the trigger line that will summon enemy reinforcements. 2 doors will open, 1 on the left, 1 on the right. Right door will have 2 Jackal Miners and a Brute. Left door will have 2 Skirmishers and a Berserker. The last 3 remaining enemies overall, if there were any others alive, will automatically fall back to the entrance door. If there are more than 3 enemies remaining, these enemy reinforcements will track me down. They can be sneaky. I would rather not deal with any of that uncertainty. The plan goes, if all enemies are dead, as they are right now, I take out 3 from the left door, and the 3 from the right door will immediately fall back to the entrance. I have a solid method to eliminate any enemies that remain at the entrance door. I'm going to place my second threat sensor on the trigger line, which extends from left to right. The first one goes to where the door is. I've just crossed the line, and here it is. And since I got a shield, I don't have to worry about getting a shield from these enemies. I'm still going to be a little cautious with them so that nothing goes wrong. So I can just kill these guys. I don't have to worry about saving one for a shield. Now that these enemies are down, it's now just going to be moving some weapons, moving weapons around, moving the stockpile around to the front, to this entrance door. And if you like, you can just skip to the next chapter or the next engagement. Plasma pistol is pretty much going to be for the next section. There'll be some grunts and an elite to use it on. It is also for going forward with the section beyond the hunters. I can use it, you know, beyond that. All the rocket launchers I'm going to collect are going to be for the hunters. The heat wave is also for the next section. The next section just has, I think, 5 enemies. It's just 3 grunts, an elite, and a brute. The brute's going to have a sentinel beam. Just a little different. The shock rifle is for the section after, and pretty much the sections after the hunters. I'll be using it a lot. I'm going to collect as many rockets as I can. And I got a method and a process for determining how many rockets I get, or how many shells I have. In my placement of the rockets, it just kind of tells me those that rockets that reload are going to have at least a minimum of 2 shots, and it's usually just going to be 2 shots. And those that I pick up that don't reload tells me one of 2 things, and it's the most likely case that it just has 1 shell. There is the rare chance that when it doesn't reload, it actually has, it's already been reloaded, it has 2 shots at minimum, and in some rare cases, even, you know, rare cases, it has 2 and then 1 in reserve. So in total it has 3, but you wouldn't know because the blind is on. So I just go through the process of just reloading the different ones and kind of merge them together and seeing what's left over when you pick them up, because I'll know when they're fully loaded. I'm looking for 1 more rocket launcher, and here we go. So being that that one reloaded tells me it had 1 shell, and I picked up all 4 of these over on this side have been reloaded. And there we go. Just walked over and picked up all 3 of those, so they were full. And as I went to try and pick up the other, it wouldn't. So I have 6, and the other leftover has 3. And yes, I will carry as many rockets as I can going forward because they will be useful in the sections after the hunters. Simple noob combos with these grunts. I'll do my elite noob combo. This elite. And good thing he just decides to approach. Engage. Turns out I don't have a shield. What I think happened is I shot his nade out of air near me and it took the shield out. Yeah, game. Not switching weapon again. All that's left is this brute. I have a shield, so all I need to do is kill him. I don't have to get up close and have to get a shield from him. But I just want to be careful that he doesn't like drop a nade, like one of those spikes, and I catch a ricochet. And that's it for the enemies in this section. What's coming up next is the hunter fight. And yep, that's going to be a doozy. Got to be able to do that and survive, so that I can call this a deathless run. So you can skip to the next chapter, which will be the next engagement, and that will be with the hunters. All I'm really going to do here is gather weapons and move my stockpile, which is just going to be a few weapons. It's not going to be that many. I'm going to take the plasma pistol, and I'm going to max out the ammo. There, I just picked it up, so now it's full. This is the rocket launcher that's a spare. It's a spare. Got 3 shots in it. And the shock rifle came off a rack. It's a 30. It's a 20 and 40. It's not exactly full, but if I get past the hunters, there'll be a shock ammo dispenser where I can max out its ammo. Pick up these last 2 weapons. Full rocket launcher and the 37% hammer. It's the diminisher of hope. It's Esram's hammer. It's effective on the hunters, but I'm saving it for the last damaged near-death hunter that I can get, so I can at least get a shield before moving on to the next section. This is kind of a tricky area to position wherever I juggle these weapons. Typically, I'll juggle them, let them slide down the bottom of this ramp, and then turn around and go back at the other weapons. Where I've placed them now is a new spot, because where I just let them fall at the bottom of the ramp, and then I go back and get the others, and when I return, one of the weapons will just despawn. And I only was away for like 20 seconds and something despawns. And the thing was, when it happened one of the times, you know, we did it on stream and sat and looked at it on the ground. It didn't like disappear or roll away. It was there on the ground. 20 seconds, come back, and one of them is missing. So I move them to a different spot, and since then, there hasn't been any problem with the weapons, with a weapon despawning, and it's random. It could be the plasma pistol. It could be, usually it's kind of like a rocket launcher, something rather important, and then other times it could be that shock rifle. And what I'll find is when I get to this spot, you know, where the window is, and you get that script started where she does her dialogue and you see the hunters move into the middle of the room, if you return back to the landing zone area, or the docking bay, the loading bay, and then you come back to here, well, then those hunters are going to be looking at this door, standing right at the door, and you have no chance of getting in the door and getting away from anything. And just, it's a scrap. You have to restart mission. You're not going to be able to survive it. So once I get to the point of looking at the hunters out the window, there's no going back. You just got to go forward. So the trouble was, if one of those weapons despawned, it was just kind of like I just had to deal with it. But it really made the mission just way too difficult to do. So at least what I did is solve that problem. So here I'm going to start with the plasma pistol. I'm just going to throw it in the room, get the threat sensor out, figure out where they are. They do this pacing back and forth, and when the near hunter on the left side, when he turns his back, I can then drop weapons in, and I'm going to grab 2 of the 3 shot coil or hard light coils, because I don't need any one of those things blowing up near me, because it'll set off a chain reaction and restart mission. So I throw in one of the rockets. I'm going to carry the other rocket launcher, throw in the BR, got the hammer, and once this near one here, once they turn their back, then I'll jump in and get set up over by this weapon rack that's got the skewers. So it's full skewer, 8 shots. Second shot hit his blocker. Probably didn't cause much damage. This is unusual positioning for them. You have the one on the right, the one that took the 2 shots, the one I'm looking at there. He's not moving and staying put, which is fine. The one on the left is going to be a little difficult to kind of work with. But it's what I got, and I can do what damage I can. Want to try and get the fleshy areas, just to apply the most damage possible. Being that neither one of these hunters can see me, I'm going to go ahead and get the Ravager while I can. This is going to be a slow and tedious process. I only plan to use the skewer, rockets, Ravager, and hammer. That was a good shot. Nice bloody splatter. Odd that it didn't get the same result off the second shot. I was aiming the same place. want the threat sensors out. I always need to know where they are. That was a good shot. And he's in weak rage mode. Now the other one's getting involved, and this is difficult now. I had to use some splash damage to kick that one away. Usually tell the difference of the one that's in rage mode. You can hear him breathing heavily. This is the one that's walking around. And this is a different mode that he's in now. It's just kind of this roaming, moving mode. Always moving and won't stop. Unless distracted. Unless there's some other kind of distraction to get him to stop. And this is not a good spot because there's the other one there on the left. The reason why this positioning works, or the reason why it works, is if you get both of them to the left or both to the right, if they get separated like this, then they take away my hiding spot. If they shoot me to the right, I can hop down to the left and I'll be safe. If they shoot to the left corner, I can hop up here to the right and I'll be in cover. When they split like this, it's trouble. So that's why it's a slow play and I'm playing it slow. Walking around just is really one clean shot to the weak area to kill him. I am biding my time and waiting for the right angle and waiting for a good shot to take. Really best if they're standing still to get a good shot. But this one's not going to stop moving. Had a good shot, got the kill. Now I really just need to focus on this one here, and he's going to be a little more touchy as far as if he sees you or not. Sometimes it just thinks he sees you, he's going to shoot. Right there at that moment should have been enough to shoot back and didn't. I have one, maybe two skewer shots remaining. I think it's just one. But at this time in the game, I'm not sure which it is. And that's what I mean. Doesn't necessarily see me. May have seen like my elbow sticking out or something. And started shooting before I could get... I don't even know if it was a good clean shot, but that was the last of the skewer. Now I'm just going to use the Ravager and use its area of effect feature. Burn the ground and cook them. But I need a distraction because I don't like his positioning. He's not in a good spot. And being that he's in this kind of enraged mode, he's typically going to fire the instant he sees you and do his rapid fire mode. You just have no chance. Looking at my options. And that worked well. He repositioned and moved. I liked where he was, and now I don't really like where he is. We're just again. But it will work. I can make it work. Good ricochet shot. Get him to move a little bit. Yeah, touchy. needed to take a look and see what my options are. That was unfortunate. It just kind of bounced off of. Positioning is okay. It's not great, but I can do a ricochet off the wall. That was the end of the Ravager. One shot with the rockets to kind of kick them away so I can bide my time to get the hammer. And this is very tricky. The timing's got to be right. It's a very slow, long swing to make the hit, so got to give it a good second or more. And I heard my shield charge. Successfully killed both hunters, still alive. At this point, it's just moving stockpile, which is just going to be, you know, small set of weapons. Feel free to skip forward to the next chapter for the next engagement. I'm just going to fill up the shock rifle so that it's full. Fill up my BR, it's full. All these dispensers, these ammo dispensers, are unlimited. Use them as often as you want. So going forward, I'm just going to carry these 3 weapons: shock rifle, rockets, plasma pistol, and there is another rocket launcher here that's got 2 shots in it. That's pretty much the method and pretty much the take. It takes time. It's a slow play. Use the skewer and try and shoot and get damage in their weakest spots.
Okay, being here.
Once I get the first one down, then my chances of success is much improved.
I bet. She was expecting you, but Atriox got to her
I'm
first.
leaving behind that rocket launcher because it's easier to juggle these 3 weapons at a time. And it just takes longer and it's too cumbersome to try and do 4. I'll leave it behind. I plan to come back to that room anyway to reload and top off the BR. Because this next fight, you know, I'll use a little bit of BR, but there's not going to be another kinetic ammo dispenser until near the end, or pretty much at the Silent Auditorium is when you'll get the next one. So I can use plenty of BR ammo on this next fight, and then I can refill it, and then I just need to be a little conservative with it. A little bit. Not too much, though. Drop those weapons off, and I'm going to go back for, in this, air quotes, secret room, I'm gonna get the cinder shot. Don't plan on using it. It's more of a contingency.
No further.
If I
Stock
need
up,
it for
Chief.
something, there will be plenty of ammo that I can top it off and have it filled up in the coming sections. But the cinder shot is pretty much for the auditorium in that fight, and believe me, there'll be plenty of them. I'll be carrying 3 full ones into the auditorium, and there'll be 3 full ones in the auditorium. But the more the better. Being I've got a full shield, I'm going to pick off as many grunts as I can. That one to the far left that didn't get killed, I usually save him for if I need a shield. But I can just kill him. I don't need a shield. I've got, my shield is full. One of those grunts, if one survives and you push into this area and you push in here, will suicide. You never know which one is just, and at least he'll announce it. And you'll kind of get, you'll at least hear it. But that's also unnerving because it's easily to forget. You can easily forget. So I try and pick off all the grunts I can in this immediate area here. And that was all of them. There's plenty of grunts in the next room. None of the enemies that are in that next room will push into this room. They'll push up to the doorways, but they're not going to push into this room. So what's in that next room is 2 brutes with rocket launchers, an elite, and several grunts, and 4 jackal majors. And when that room gets cleared, there's a trigger line that you walk across that will have the game will summon 2 grunts and a brute. The brute will have you'll have a shield and a sentinel beam. That'll be left after I clear off these enemies. We'll get to that. To kind of draw out like the brutes, I want to headshot one of the or headshot what jackals I can, and then the brutes will kind of push up. And sometimes one of these grunts will. I usually have a good method for taking these guys out, but it's just very cautious. It's a little bit of a slow play. You want to go deathless, I got to keep the risk low. That's one of the concerns with this section, is they're on a ramp, and when you get shots on them, it pushes them back down the ramp, and then you won't be able to see them to get the headshot. And it's the same with these brutes. See, there he goes. He was in a good spot, but for some reason he falls backward, and when you start engaging these guys, then the elite likes to want to get in the action. And I want to just engage the elite one-on-one. I don't need to want to have to deal with other supporting the supporting cast trying to get involved. It's a recipe for an easy death. Usually I'm trying to do my elite combo, and of course the nade goes between his legs. Are you kidding me? That just took his shield out because he tried to throw a nade, and that nade damaged him. But being this brute pushed up, and you got this other grunt here, I can't go after that elite. So here we go again. He goes down the ramp. from the force of the weapon. Now these guys are getting involved. I throw another nade, and once again the nade goes between the legs. Are you kidding me? I'm throwing nades. It's not a big deal. There's plenty of nades around. I bring the rockets because I'm fine using one rocket on the elite. He gets in the right spot, which he's in that spot. I can get him with the rockets. But there's other spots he gets to that you shoot the rockets. You don't want to hit him head on. It won't even take a shield out. You want to get the splash damage and send him into the wall. Just like that. I can use pulse carbine on the brutes. There's just one brute remaining, and he's in a good spot. That fourth volley, I try and get at least a headshot with. It'll kick off his helmet, and then I can just get the headshot. And now it's just kind of an easy play here. I can just noob combo the grunts, headshot the jackals. The jackals are in kind of a relaxed, kind of really relaxed. So he didn't have his shield up, and I can just pop up and get the headshot on him. And saving the last one, then I can use him to get my shield. If I took any shield damage.
I'm searching, but I ain't gonna like what I find. Guess I accidentally.
Yep, I had a full shield. Now at this point, just gonna move a few weapons around up to this spot. Feel free to skip forward to the next chapter, to the next engagement, and get ready for the enemies. See, there's a trigger line up ahead that will call out those enemies, and they'll just come down the hall at the end of the hall there, and they'll come around the corner. And I'm just going to get these weapons in place before that occurs. It's usually hard to find the rocket launchers, and it's very important to get this skewer. It's got 4 shots in it. I find times it's kind of goofy, even though I know where the mule was when I kill him. It seems like that the weapon isn't always near where he dies. There's nades that get thrown and stuff like that, so it gets bounced around and tossed around. And so the rockets that I came up with, there's one of them that's got 2 shells and the other one has 1, so I got rocket launcher with 3 rounds in it that I can add to the ones that I have. Here's a grouping of 3 weapons that I plan to move. Just kind of putting them together. Alright, so that rocket launcher's full. I just collected the 1 shell out of it. Top off the pulse carbine, make sure it's full. Do the same with the shock rifle. So it's full. Be using it in the next section. Use the pulse carbine here with these 3 enemies that come out. You'll see the second line, so this first one, and there's the second line. When I cross that second line, here they come. Now they've been triggered. Shoot those foils. Does pretty good damage on them. They usually don't come out in a like the same sequence every time. In this particular case, 1 or 2 of the grunts kind of lagged way behind, kind of hung way behind. I'll touch up the pulse carbine to make sure it's full. And got all these weapons in place. I'm going to move them forward. And once I get these weapons moved up, then I'm going to go back for the BR and touch up on the, or top off on the BR to make sure it's full. At this point, you can skip forward to the next chapter for the next engagement, which is the large long haul. It'll be a long fight. Not necessarily that risky of a fight. There are some difficult enemies. It can be a difficult fight, but it's just kind of slow. And just making sure the pulse carbine's topped off, it's full. I don't want to push up too close. I've had mixed results with how far you go into this room or into the next room. Like if you get near the doorway, through the doorway, if you go too far, then you cannot go back to the hunter room. The doors will be locked. So I only went just a little ways, and so now I can go all the way back to the hunter room. I can even go to that other room, that secret room where all those weapons are. Now, there was a time where I moved a lot of weapons, so I'm going to pick up this rocket launcher, which I believe should have 2 shots in it. And I will combine it with the other rocket launcher, which has 2 shots, so do the math. Next section I'll be using quite a bit of shock rifle. There, I just touched up on the rocket launcher, so it's got 4 rounds in it. And sometimes these weapons don't like to move, kind of juggling, moving these things around. It didn't always like to pick them up. Moving these weapons out of the way so I don't accidentally pick them up when I move these other 3. I put threat sensors down in this near area here because in the rare instance, it's very rare, but sometimes there'll be an elite patrolling around up here. And it was funny because the very last time it occurred, see here what I want to do is I want to try and get a headshot on any elites I can find, and right now I can only see 1. But end up picking off an elite and a grunt. But sometimes there's this elite that patrols around, and it figures the one time I don't put the threat sensors down, he's patrolling around, and when I poke my head out, he sees me and goes running off, and it would have been an easy kill to have just picked him off because he doesn't have his shield up. None of these guys have their shields up. So I can at least pick 1 or 2 of them off. Next up here is whenever you enter the room, or you go into the room just far enough, like wherever these little barriers are, you get up to like those barriers, which about right here, you trigger 2 sentinels that will come out. And I would usually get the shield down on 1 and then use the skewer. The skewer can, you know, just hit 1 of them and it blows both of them up. And it's pretty spectacular, it's pretty cool. However, I want to save the skewer for enemies in the next section. I'll use... There's going to be a weapon rack with 2 more skewers to make a full one. It just wasn't necessary to use one yet. I'll still use it here for at least one more one enemy here.
He's coming for the harvester! We got a warder!
I wanted to punch one to ensure that I to at least make sure I got a shield. Because I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I got tagged by one of the sentinels. There's going to be 3 grunts on this left side. 2 of them here in the front, and then you'll get this jackal miner coming up. I got him. And here's the 3rd grunt on the left side. On the right side, there'll be 1 grunt and 1 jackal major. The grunt is already pushed up to the top of the ramp up here. The jackal major is kind of lagging behind down near the bottom. Here's that commotion and wants to engage and come on up here. So yeah, come on up. And that's it for the enemies that will push up and try and engage. I'm going to grab the sniper rifle. Turns out I won't use it, but it's more like a contingency. Actually, I will use it in the next fight. Not in this section or this area here. But once all these enemies are cleared and move on to the next section, the next area, I'll be using it. It's only got 4 rounds in it. And it worked out that those sentinels dropped their shock rifles, because then I'll be able to move a second full shock rifle down to the area below. So now it's just kind of move some weapons around. Feel free to skip forward to the next chapter for the next engagement. Getting the stalker works as like a contingency. If there's an elite down in the section below where the shade turret, or not shade turret, but the plasma turret, then I'll shoot him a few times, or at least empty a clip into him, and then follow up with the stalker to finish him off. So it turns out there's just the grunts. There will be a brute. This works out well. I don't want to destroy the turret because they're just easy. They're just easy pickings. And for some reason, those shots are not getting through to the gunner. Goodness, how many times do I gotta shoot him? Silly. It's just 2 headshots. It just takes 2 shots. The first shot doesn't even need to be a headshot. The second one needs to be a headshot. So I want the turret in place because, you know, whatever enemy can just come along and just hop on it, and they're just an easy target. And if they start shooting, I can work my way backward a bit to where I can see them, but the shots don't hit me. That's it for the enemies for this first third of this large long hall. The middle third area down below, kind of further along, there's a jetpacker, an elite, and a couple grunts. And I'm just going to move these weapons down to the section below. You can skip to the next chapter for the next engagement, which will be those enemies below. got these disruptors in the way, so I'm just going to move them out of the way so I don't accidentally pick them up. Just gets annoying. The skewer I plan to use for the jetpacker at the door at the very end of this section. Rockets are for the enemies that I saw in that middle section area. Get some splash damage on them, and then the rockets will be used in the next section as well, along with the skewer. I'm going to be carrying quite a few weapons into the next section. Sniper rifle will be one of those. The not this section, but the next section beyond the door. Actually, you kind of clear this area and move on to the next area, the next section. It's random with what enemies you get. Sometimes an enemy is substituted, so like one of the big enemies in the next section could be a jetpacker, or it could be a chieftain with a scrap cannon. And so I'm not sure what you're going to get, so I got a plan for the chieftain. Because I'll have the right enemies for the chieftain, and this guy can use the same weapons, you could say, for the jetpacker, but really not that many. I don't really need that many weapons for the jetpacker. So my plan is to carry what I need for the chieftain. He is very difficult to get taken out. I got my weapons down here. So for this next area, I'm going to pick up the rocket launcher that's got 4 shots in it, and just use splash damage on the elite and the jetpacker. There's actually 2. There's one here, one jetpacker here in this section, and in the next area at the door, there's another one. There's always going to be one at the door, but you get a random display of enemies for this portion. It could be 1 elite, could be 2 elites, could be 3 elites. Sometimes you get a jetpacker, sometimes you don't. This is just what I got for this section. I want to protect this deployable cover, or whatever we want to call it in this game. There's the splash damage, takes out that elite, worked well. But I'm saying I want to protect this this deployable cover, this shield here, because it'll come in handy for the sentinels that will come out later on that I'll need to trigger. This is exactly what I don't need. He blows up and it's gone, and so that just ruins my cover for the sentinel fight. But I do have a contingency for that. Tried to get him with the nade shot, but he wasn't close enough. And the rockets needed to reload, oddly. I'll try another splash damage. I'll just shoot the ground near him. Not that near him, because boom and cowbell work well. And that worked great. And I can just shoot this grunt with the shock rifle. Having weapon reload problems. Trying to flush him out. There he goes. He's starting to move around. Oh, please. Come on now, headshot. Now I want to take out the jetpacker at the door. So that's going to be a shock rifle and skewer. But I think I'm going to use the rocket I have left in this rocket launcher. See if I can get splash damage off of him. I'm going to shoot that barrier he's standing on and see if that works. Kind of odd he hasn't detected me or know what's going on. Yeah, that worked well. That's all the enemies here. However, there's a trigger line to cross that will summon out a few more enemies out of the door to come into this section. They'll stay up in that section up there at the around the door. But I'm set up to move forward. It's this midway point. Right here is the trigger line that will. Here the door opens. Here comes the enemies. There's going to be a skirmisher, Jackal Major, 2 grunts. So I took out the skirmisher and the Jackal Major. They're easy headshots. And one or both of these grunts will move forward. Here they come. They're just going to move forward. And I just need to get a headshot. 1, 2. He's down. And so I'm going to save that grunt for shield recharge so I can just melee whenever I move forward. The enemies that are next that I need to take on are going to be 2 sentinels. There'll be a trigger line to cross that will summon them out. I'm going to get different, and I'm going to collect different weapons for them. Hopping off and making sure the shock rifle's full. I'm going to take the stalker. So what I find is whenever I pump 4 shots and empty a clip, I want to switch to the stalker rifle and I can finish off. Alright, so here we go. Pass through this central area, past these piers, those columns, and that will trigger them to come out. And I want to work my way back, and I'm going to, this is my contingency spot to hang out here. Now the only enemy remaining now is the grunt. But before I get to the grunt, I'm going to move a lot of my weapons up so you can skip to the next chapter. And the next chapter is just going to be killing the grunt. The weapons I plan to move into the next area will be those 3 power weapons. So that's going to be the rocket launcher, skewer, and cinder shot. Gonna get that cinder shot off of the rack so that combine it with this one, it'll be full. There we go with a rogue weapon laying around. Didn't need to pick that up. Out in the way. There's the cinder shot. Got it combined. Got those 3 power weapons together. Just keeping an eye on where that grunt is. He will shoot at me from there. Stupid. And he will make contact. And so I'm going to get this shock rifle and sniper rifle. Make sure the shock is topped off and full. Making sure where he's at, and I'm just going to move these weapons forward just a little bit. I'm going to make sure the skewer is full. It is. I didn't use it, so it had 4 shots, and so I just picked up 4 off of the rack. And I will collect the other one and be moving it to the next area, the next section. Just a little time consuming, just moving these weapons. They are necessary to have these weapons. last two, and then I can go after the grunt. I'm going to stop and do a grapple pound. Check the status of my shield. It looks fully charged. So I don't have to mess around with trying to get my shield from him. I can just kill him. Kill him quick. Not have any kind of risk of getting shot. So now he's taken care of. It's now time to move the stockpile so you can skip forward to the next chapter for the next engagement.
Data. It's more precise, more complete. It's like...
We're getting closer to where she died.
Yes. But I was going to say deliberate. Like she wanted us to know something.
the last couple weapons here to my destination here. Because if there's a chance these two enemies are in position, I'll go ahead and take them out here. But if they're not in the right position, they usually take a while to move to where they're in a good spot. So they're not in a good spot, so I can now move the rest of the weapons and just take some time doing that. By the time I'm done, perhaps they'll be in a better spot. Yeah, that's a great quote. The mule is not necessarily a problem. It's easy. The brute is the difficult one. I would like to save those coils, those shot coils. But the brute doesn't always cooperate with that, and find a way to mess that up. But it doesn't really matter. I do want to draw him out, so by killing the mule, it's best to have him step out into the middle where I can kill him, but at times he likes to take position up right behind the coils. Did something. I guess he dropped a nade, a spike nade, and set him off. This is kind of tricky. You have a jackal sniper to the left, a jackal sniper to the right. You have a brute with a rocket launcher on the right and the left. You have two jackal majors on the left and the right, so 4 total. And it shouldn't be that hard to get those headshots. The jackal snipers don't always step out. They kind of hang back or hang into cover and like to step out when you're not paying attention, and will pick you off. Always have to have your head on a swivel. Always got to make sure your threat sensors are out there so you know where they are. I've got a lot of weapons because I find I go through a lot of shock rifle in this section. And that's why the skewer is so handy. That's the reason why I brought the extra skewer, is so that I can use it on these two brutes that hang out on the left and the right. You have a third brute that usually is in the middle. What he does is he kind of cycles and patrols up there onto the top and then jumps down below, and then he'll go to the right side and do the same thing, kind of cycles around. The brutes on the left and right, they dig in and are hard to pick off and hard to get shots on, and whenever you do, then they step more into cover and it's hard to get to them. And when you want to get yourself into a favorable position, you expose yourself to other enemies and you get picked off easily. So the skewer is just a real quick way of getting the kill. Easily takes a shield out and then a headshot. and it'll be the same for the other ones. I'm gonna try and get them with the skewer and then a headshot. So you have these 3 brutes I've mentioned here in this middle area, kind of this first third or first half. The back half is going to have 2 more brutes and either a jetpack brute or a chieftain with a scrap cannon, and so it's just random with what you get. The scrap cannon chieftain can be very tricky and difficult because he moves around, likes to get in the cover, so I try and use a skewer. 1 or 2 shots we can take the shield off, and then I empty a clip of shock rifle into him, and then I'm going to follow it up with the sniper rifle for the kill. Good thing that brute was in a position where I could see him, and it turns out I get the scrap cannon chieftain. So it's best to take out all the enemies in this front half that I'm in, because you get these grunts that wander around, that kind of do cycle through like what the brute does. Kind of walks around the bottom area, then works his way up to the top area on the level with you, walks up to this area, cycles around, and so you might be scoped in and focused in on the chieftain, and then he just comes across you and throws a nade on you. So you want to take out all these enemies, and just the enemies in the back half will stay down there. Stalker is also another type of contingency of firing over long range. So the reason why all the long range is to mitigate and lower the risk of getting killed. As far away as those chieftains are, I mean, not the chieftain, but the other brutes, they're not going to shoot you from this far away. So you kill them from this far away, you're doing it without getting killed, so I'm lowering the risk. Staying alive. It's a little bit of a slow play, but it is effective. So, 2 grunts. And that should do it for the enemies in this first half. Now there is a trigger line that when crossed, will summon a couple brute berserkers, one from the left door, one from the right door in this middle area. There. Finish him off with the sniper. And that went well. So about the berserkers, the enemies that are remain, the only thing I want left alive would be a single grunt, because if I take any damage, I can save him for recharging my shield. You can see what's left. There's a couple skirmishers and a jackal major. There's still a brute or 2. I'll take them all out except for the grunt. Again, it's another kind of a slow play, because these brutes don't like to step out in the open where I can just shoot them. And sometimes, some cases they do, but they step out, then they get back into cover. The skirmishers really like to hang out in the cover. They just kind of jump out and then they jump back into cover. Gotta be quick. And that's the grunt that I want left alive. So he's just kind of cycling around down there, but he's not going to get any closer. And that should do it for these enemies. I think the only one left is the grunt. He's the one I want left alive. Now I can gear up for the berserkers. Feel free to skip forward to the next chapter for the next engagement. I'm going to take with me a sentinel beam. Maybe get fully loaded. I need to find the Ravager. That'll be my second hit. Now moving these few weapons around, there's really, this is only like a minute or two moving these weapons around. So there's really not much of a delay here. I'm having difficulty finding the Ravager. Well, I'm going to have to push up into the, just a little further. And I know where I can get one. There's one in a rack up here on the right side. It turns out there's the Ravager I'm looking for. Now I'm ready to go for the berserkers. Like we position a couple of these shock coils underneath. Trigger line is just at the top of this ramp, a couple steps past it, right there. Just crossed it. The other one stays put. For the most part, there are rare cases where he comes out running as well. He's gonna be in pretty much the same spot here on the left side, bottom floor. This grunt is kind of pushed up as far as he's gonna go, but he can shoot me, and I don't necessarily want to get shot at. So I'm just looking at my options. Out well. Now I just go for finishing off the grunt.
The gun's ready to shoot ya. Take
enemies are done in this room, I'm just going to collect and move weapons, which is just going to be a few weapons. I'm only going to take 3 weapons with me for this next fight. It's a small fight. I want to get them gathered and get them put together. Skip forward to the next section, or skip forward to the next chapter for the next engagement. I brought with me a full rocket launcher, and I plan to gather up a second full rocket launcher because the next fight will have an elite. This next small room is going to have an elite, grunts, Jackal Major. And I plan to kill the elite first, and I want to use rockets. It's by doing it the way I'm doing it with the rockets from the doorway, it's low risk. He won't be able to see me, and if he does see me, then I can just step back in the hall and he'll just throw a nade or something and it won't get me. But it's real tricky to get the kill because he needs to be in just the right position so I can get the good splash damage kill on him. So I need to gather a second full rocket launcher because there's many times the rocket shot doesn't always work right, so I can go through a lot of rockets doing it, and there's other times only one of them will do it. Will do it right. So the weapons I plan to take into this next area, this next section, is going to be the cinder shot, full rocket launcher, and a pulse carbine. And then secondary, I'll kind of leave behind at the doorway, will be a second full rocket launcher. So if I happen to blow through the first one, I can just step down the ramp and get the second one. So this next room will have, as I was saying, it's going to have the elite. It'll have 2 grunts and a Jackal Major. If you step into the room a few steps, and I mean just a few steps, you'll cross a line that will trigger and open up door to an adjacent room. And in that room will be a brute, Jackal Major, and a grunt. So here I go with the fight with the elite and a couple grunts. I'm going to look for that Jackal Major to see if I can get him picked off. There he is. He's just off to the left there. Make a little noise or shoot or do something, then he'll step out. They're just gonna stay put until something goes on. Yeah, I try and do shots like that, and he jumps out of the way. So there goes the Jackal. I got him out of the way. These 2 grunts, if they see me, they'll just throw nades. So I need to put like a drop wall down or something, or just be aware. By shooting at the grunts, it can cause the elite to move around. So it can take some time to get him in the right spot. And it turns out to be one of those spots that you can get him. It's hard to get him to get in that spot, but that's not the spot I was thinking of. It was more back in the hallway, and it's a very slim window to get him. But he was behind that crate, and so I just hit the crate, and it got him. So I get the easy stuff that's left. I step in a few steps, come back around, the door opens up, and then I'd fight these guys. What's left of these 2 grunts? sure looks like I've got a full shield. So I don't have to mess around with trying to punch him. I can just kill him. And that is the last enemies before getting into the auditorium. So at this point, I'm going to once again gather weapons and move the stockpile, which isn't going to be that many weapons. And the next chapter, if you skip to the next chapter, will be the engagement in the auditorium. That cinder shot is a old cinder shot. I'll be going back to collect 2 more off of the weapon racks. The reason why I leave them on the weapon racks is if I remove them early and set them down at that doorway with all the other weapons, I found one time that one might just despawn. And it has nothing to do with the time it took, because there was one of these times I only spent like 2 minutes, and I come back to collect everything, and one of the cinder shots was gone, so that can't happen. So I leave them on the weapon racks. They're not going to despawn there. So I'm going to move, when I move these weapons into for the path to the auditorium, there's going to be 3 total cinder shots, 3 full ones, and then just for the purpose of helping move them, I'm using the Ravager and a sword. And those weapons are weapons that I could use in the auditorium, but I find that I don't, but it's just in case for any kind of specific situation or whatever. But it turns out I don't really use them. It just helps me move these weapons, because you get, one or more of the same weapon, 2 or more of the same weapon, it's hard to kind of move them, because you can't just pick them up. You have to have another weapon kind of joking around. It'll just take a little time to kind of move these along, but I've really gotten somewhat efficient with moving along, so it doesn't take too much time. The other part of this when moving these, and what is tricky, is I find when it seems like it doesn't matter if you juggle them or doing what I'm doing is just kind of using the grapple to kind of move them along. They'll just kind of go through me and just past me. The floor likes to eat weapons, and so I try not to do that too often. And so, there's the monitor. I find when I move these with the grapple, as in they go through me and then hit the floor, the floor will just eat stuff, and it just goes through the floor, and it's very frustrating, because I really can't afford to lose a cinder shot. Man, I really could lose one. It just takes longer when I get into the auditorium, then I have to fetch and collect a whole other one, and then position to move it around. It's frustrating. So I moved these 3,
Get a bad feeling about all this.
and it's really not that big a deal.
Good point.
There are some sections that are more notorious than others with where the floor eats the weapon. This area has been one of those where I really haven't noticed it, or noticed it that often. Sometimes, like in a little hallway in here, it might do it, but it's kind of a rare case. But like I said, I've done this so many times that I think only one time in this hallway it's happened. Maybe one time in that previous large room where all those weapons are and the monitor. There's just other places where it seems to happen or occur more often. So then I'll just kind of juggle it, and I try and juggle them quickly so I don't give them that much time to hit and roll around or skip along the floor. But usually, and see, one of the other rare cases is when it happens, it just goes through the floor you know, like on its first contact, it doesn't just kind of roll around. Sometimes it kind of rolls around and then goes through, but I find times that it's just, as it hits the floor, it just goes through and just into the void. It's kind of one of those buggy things. It's frustrating.
Ended at the hands of those who made you.
So this bridge here is one of these places where it occurs more often than not. It can happen more often. So my way of getting through this is just walking straight down the middle and just juggling these two weapons at a time, just kind of like one at a time, and not trying to do too many, and not try and grapple them over a long distance and slingshot them, because I find if it like lands on the glass, it just goes through, and it's happened a few times, so I don't bother doing it anymore. So I just juggle and move them, and then just grapple back and just go back and collect them. It's just kind of too risky to kind of do grapple and move them. This one's actually kind of safe because I'm using a weapon where it's not going to go through me and sling. It's just I'm just grappling and collecting it. When the game will let me do it. Nothing tricky about this elevator. It needs to be activated, so I can get the stuff on here. And then at this point I can take like a 1 minute break or whatever, time this takes. I can stretch and do what I need to do, make sure I'm focused and ready for the fight. There's still a bit of a path to have to cross to get to the auditorium. And when I get to the auditorium, then there's a little bit more setup to do. It's not as much as it used to be. But I've added something new, which I'll get to once I get there.
Not much time. Will this work? There's a moment. John will make it work. He needs help. Of course. Was this your plan all along, Halsey? Or is it mine? It doesn't matter now. Nothing else matters. This has got to work. He can't do it on his own. He needs me. He needs her. Everything has gone from the uncertainty of your goodness. I can't go on spoiling her life any longer.
This hallway is another one of those areas where the floor will eat the weapon. Gotta be kind of careful with how I do this. So again, this is one of these where I'm just gonna move the weapons in a more normal, safe way of doing it. Try and stick to the middle part of the pathway. And I think there's
Cortana.
been one or
Sacrifice
maybe
yourself.
2 occasions where even right here to this area, if I try to slingshot a weapon into the auditorium, it seems to, again, seems like it finds a place, finds a way to go through the floor and then into the void. Okay, made it to the auditorium. Now, just a little bit of setup here. I'm going to keep 2 cinder shots under this walkway or underpass. Make sure I have a fully loaded sentinel beam. I'll just throw it in the middle. And I'll bookend them with the cinder shots. And I'll fly my way over here and make sure that this sentinel beam is fully loaded as a backup. I'll drop my second cinder shot. And now it's bookended. I'm going to take this. This will be my cinder shot that I carry. So I'm going to throw it at the plinth. And I'm just going to toss these aside. And I turn around and get this full cinder shot here. And I'm going to go to this next underpass. These will be 2 areas that I will fight the Harbinger. I'll grab a second full cinder shot. Put in these areas because I could be fighting from either side of the underpass. And I can, so these weapons are here just so I don't have to worry or even think about running out of ammo. I have plenty of ammo, and it's the last thing on my mind I need to be thinking about as far as being concerned about running out. So all I need to do is just worry about reloading, and there's always going to be ammunition for me to step on. I get the pulse carbine because you have these hard light barrels that I've had 3 occasions where I was nowhere near one when it exploded and it would kill me. And I mean, from this far away I was killed by one, and I'm just like, this is just stupid. And I think there was an instance where I didn't even have a line of sight on it. It exploded and ricocheted and still killed me, and I've just had out enough of that. So I take out 4 of these barrels, and there's these other 2 barrels that really aren't even going to be that close to me or near me, but yet I'm not going to bother with them. So I take out the barrels that are at the underpass of where I do my fighting. Can't afford to have any accidents. So that'll do it for the barrels. I'm not going to take out these other 2 here. And now I'm ready to do the fight. I do know which doors open, and so you will notice that and see that. And the game will also have sometimes will randomly open different doors, and I know what those doors are as well. So I have backups for if this door doesn't open, then it's going to be this door here, and so on and so on. It's now time to get this started with the first wave. And here we go.
What is she doing?
She's trying to open a connection between here and somewhere else on the ring.
Where?
You deal with her and I'll find out.
Your honor is at stake. Bring me the Spartan's head. A wasted effort. You are on the wrong
intercepted the carrier wave from this transmitter.
Very well. Prepare yourself. How dare you! Technology will not save you! The endless will rise again. People have suffered long enough. Forerunners lie. Die with you. Stop this!
And that's wave 1.
Perhaps I underestimated you.
She switched transmitters, rerouting the power through that one. This isn't good. The connection is sentient. It's searching for something.
You are a child, fighting for a cause you scarcely understand. All your anger and desire, it cannot touch me.
Okay, next one's down.
I will do this myself. Heal yourself, reclaimer. When will you just die? I will bring justice to this miserable grid. This fire. Enough. You cannot stop what is coming. The endless will return. You will pay for this.
And that is the second wave.
This must end now.
Now the dreaded third wave.
It's switched again. It's found something.
What?
No idea, but I doubt it's good. Wait, there's something else here. Something's helping me. There, last one's down.
Our struggle is ageless. It will not end here. I am right here. I haven't forgotten. Are you ready to die? Are you holding back? Wretched thing!
I did it. Holy crap, I did it!
And it is done. That was so close. That cinder shot bounced off of her and rolled around on the ground. It had a chance to actually kill me. But my shield was in good shape. And I meant to finish her off with like a grapple pound. But I was switching to the cinder shot, or the sentinel beam, because I think I'd fired enough with the cinder shot. There was a couple close calls in there. But the thing that really pulled together, what really mattered, is the cinder shot actually worked the way it was supposed to work. There's so many times, as you saw, there's just a single shot. You know, we'll get a kill. You know, just one shot kill, one shot kill, one shot kill on all these enemies, and then one of them will come along and it just bounces off of them, hits them, and I'll shoot 5 or 6 times and it doesn't kill them or even remove their shield. It is the silliest thing. It can just go through kill, kill, kill. And then just one of them just bounces around, doesn't kill them at all, and restart mission. So, made it through Silent Auditorium without dying. LASO without Bandana. I really thought this mission was about as close, damn near impossible, and it took weeks to get it figured out and
What
to get
now,
it pulled
Chief?
off.
What I said. We finished the fight.
For the first time in my life, I didn't die!
That concludes this video series of LASO without Bandana, Deathless. Thank you for watching.
We're with you, Chief.